Hello, everybody. How you going? Now, howdy. So, hoping that everything's going to go all right with the internet today. What an exciting couple of days we have had here at Moorooduc. Okay, that sounds delicious. Lamb chops, roast veggies, pate with peppercorn. Sounds good. John and Cotty, g'day. Emily, Kevin, hello. Shell, you beat Jeff to it. Well done. Dill garlic fried rice with vegan duck. Sounds very interesting and probably delicious. Hello, Craig and Karen and Joan. Arancini, good, excellent. Steam pork buns, yeah. Sharpie and Rod, how you going? Paul, hello. Sarah and all the tricks. Kim, hello. How are you? Great to see you all. Well, we've been thrown into excitement and confusion here at Moorooduc hello, Anne-Marie, how you doing? Mushroom and truffle fettuccine, yum, how delicious. So much news, I know, Alison. So first of all, I know probably you've all read the email, but Peter, yeah, hi, Pete. Pete said he was going to tune in from his hospital bed. He does not have his wine with him. I suggested Mum might like to run it into him, but sorry, Pete, no wine for you tonight. Well, actually, they might give you some wine at the hospital if you're very lucky. Are you okay, Pete? Everyone's hoping that you're okay. All right, Peter news first. Hello, Jeff and Sue. How's ISO going? Sorry, I haven't checked in for the last couple of days. You'll be coming up to speed with what's been going on in my life. Jack and Zach, how you doing? Pork, mash, yum. Oh, you've gone with everything. Good work, Daryl and Sue. Hello. Matt and Renee, how you doing? Paul, Sam and the twins, g'day. All right, so Peter is in hospital. He is waiting to have his appendix out, we believe. He, I hope you don't mind me telling people this, Pete. Bad luck. But yes, he had to wait all day for a COVID test, of course. Hello, Polly. Yes, no, you can't have the chips. Polly's just come in and seen that I have chips on the table. These are my fancy French cep or porcini flavoured chips from Bretagne, where my beautiful, handsome brother-in-law Gwendal comes from. I wonder if Beck and Gwendal are here today. Hello, Beck and Gwendal. I know you guys try and get on when you can, but I know it's also quite difficult at this time of the night. Kim, that sounds yummy. Manchego, grilled zucchini, entree, roast lamb, main to come. So I've got a bowl of chips, I'm doing better than I used to. No, Polly, you can't have chips. Hello, Jeremy. Egg sandwiches are good, yes, indeed. Yeah, Pete, everyone's sending their love. I'm sure you can read it. Penny, hello, how you going? So, Matt, I can tell you that these chips are available at the IGA in Mount Eliza. I don't know if you can get them anywhere else. They're imported by Calendar Cheese, so I guess you probably can. No, Craig, you had to go foraging for those chips all by yourself. I know it's a bit tough. But yes, they're in the IGA in Mount Eliza. They're not in the normal chip section, though. They're in the special produce section. I just came across them in the deli, actually. So they're rather awesome. Rob and Deb, that sounds good. Nigel, yes, this will be a beautiful wine. I have to get it open and get tasting too. Yes, I think yes. So it's very cute packaging because on the front it's all very classy. And on the back, there's little French cartoons of people saying that nous sommes chipsiers depuis 1995. We're chip makers since 95. Here you go, Paul, you can have the bag. Here you go. Now I should be scrunching that all night. Jill and Richard are doing an excellent job of keeping the dogs under control. It's not always easy. Pork belly chips, yeah, Matt. That sounds pretty good. So, yes, IGA says, Polly, I don't know if you can have that. Oh, well. Anyway, it's madness here. What else? Yeah, Nigel's got it. You've lost reception, Jeff. I hope everyone else can still hear me. Thank you, Richard. Polly control. They also have brie flavoured chips from the same producers. So tried those too. They're pretty good. So anyway, truffle chips from Meatsmith, Kim. Oh, that sounds pretty good. Yes, so end of Peter's story. He is having an operation tomorrow morning, we hope. That is the plan at this point in time. It means Peter's not doing any deliveries this week, slacker, which means that Jeff and Nigel and I have all picked up our delivery boots. And so if anyone's worrying that we haven't got your order, please feel free to send me an email and I'll just reconfirm that we do have your order. All of the Drinks with Kate boxes, because we're not starting the next box until the 28th of October, if we can't get it to you this week, we will definitely get it to you next week, okay? So, but hopefully most of you will get it. We also, in the first few that we delivered out, missed a bottle, so I'll be coming around tomorrow to those places and delivering the 6th bottle, because you've got 5.5 bottles at the moment, so you need your 6.5 bottles. So that's all the boring business. Oh, it's not boring about Peter. It's quite exciting about Peter. And it was a huge day yesterday because the poor guy was feeling terrible all day yesterday, and we had to try and find out what was wrong, get him to a doctor, get him to the hospital. It was a whole palaver. Anyway, today was much better. And hopefully tomorrow will be even better again. So Jeff and Nigel and I are doing, and Linda is doing deliveries. Linda's doing deliveries down on the peninsula. Cotty and John, I know that we might not get to you until next week, so hopefully that's not going to be too much of a problem for you. If anyone really, really needs their wine this week, because I don't know why, but for whatever reason, just send me an email as well, kate@moorooducestate.com.au, and we'll do our very best to get it to you. Poor Peter. Hello, Nina. Well, lucky Nina, you can drink the whole bottle of wine yourself, or are you going to save it until Pete gets home? Poor Pete. All right, let's get on to the wine, shall we? Polly's shouting at me because she thinks I should be sharing my chips with her. She doesn't even like them. Here you go, sit. Here you go. She says she does like them now, and she's going to sit here and bark at me if I don't keep feeding her chips. So this could be really great television. So the last wine from this amazing box 5, from the vaults, from our palette of mixed back vintages. I think that's the right thing to do, Nina. Very, very thoughtful and kind. I hope you've got something nice to drink though tonight, because you probably need a nice glass of wine. So the last bottle, Pinot Noir, 2015. So, the light's not very good. 2015, yay! Beautiful colour. This wine, so I know I keep saying this every week. This is a bit of a favourite of mine, but why do you think I chose these vintages to show to you guys? So they are expensive French chips for a white poodle to be wanting to eat. She's gone to eat Richard's bowl of expensive French chips now. And Frodo's just sitting here. Frodo, stop scratching your eye. Frodo's also given himself a wound over his eye, which he keeps scratching. We put a bucket on his head the other day, and he just stood there all day with the bucket on his head, not moving, feeling very sorry for himself. So not quite sure what to do with these dogs. Dogs and brothers all falling apart, hey, Pete? So wine, 2015 Pinot Noir. I love this wine. Anne-Marie, I know that you bought a bit of it. I'm sure quite a few of you who have been drinking Moorooduc for a while might have some of this in their cellar. If you don't, that's bad luck. I don't. We drank it and then, wow. Oh, Penny, that's fantastic. So please give my love to Jonathan and Kane. That's fantastic. She's come from Japan, 2 weeks in quarantine in Sydney. That's awesome. Welcome to Australia. Drink the wine absolutely together. Thank you for sticking your head around the corner and saying hi tonight when you've got such a lovely event to be organising. I think peppercorn pate, Kay, will possibly be a little the peppercorns in the pate will be possibly a little strong for the wine. So maybe pop that aside and have a little glass of water or something to just cleanse the palate, because the nose is worth enjoying. So 2015, of course, I haven't looked up the vintage, but it was one of those really lovely vintages that produced really beautiful wine, really great structure. Again, I think it was one of the slightly cooler years, Dad, 2015.
Yes,
Yeah,
cold,
it wasn't cold, but it was one of those years that gave us really good structure and nice concentration of fruit. No excuses here, Dad said, and I think that's right. The bottle's open when you need some, Dad. Just here, just keeping. You should see, guys. Hang on, I'm going to turn this around. Polly is doing her best impression of a good dog eating Richard's chips. Can you see? What a good dog. Oh, no, she stopped. There you go. She can be a good dog every now and again. Not a warm year. That's right, Rob. Yes, Craig, I promise I will do proper tasting note tonight before we get silly. It was, yeah, so the 15s, the 15s came from a mild year, and I think that I think the reason I've always thought this wine had some sort of quite dark fruit characters, and I think it's because it was able to ripen sort of slowly and build intensity and flavour over that cooler year. It certainly wasn't a year that we struggled to get the wine ripe, but it does have it's got that real black cherry kind of character because it's got that intensity and it's had time to develop those black cherry characters. It's still got really good structure too. And I think also some of those darker fruit and sort of savoury notes are coming through because of the bottle age. Hello, Janet. You got some posh patter. Oh, fantastic. That's hilarious. Yes, no, mine aren't called posh chips, but they are very posh, and the dogs have decided they like them too. So that's going to be an expensive habit to kick. Hello, Michael. Yes, amazing wine. It would go very well with the Picnic Point cheese. It has got incredible colour, length and complexity. No whole bunch, no. So let's go through this. Oh, Alison, you're getting a slightly metallic taste in your mouth. What are you eating with the wine? Maybe it just needs a little bit of air. Okay, here we go. Tasting note coming up. It's got beautiful, it's, as we've noted, it's got lovely colour. On the nose, I do get that black cherry character. I get a little bit of truffle. I think it's starting to develop some earthy, mushroomy savouriness. There's a sort of a forest floor kind of savouriness to it as well, which is really gorgeous. Anne-Marie, I totally agree. Violets are coming through as the air kind of works on the wine. That sort of violet perfume top note is really gorgeous. So I'm getting that on the nose. I haven't put it in my mouth yet, obviously. So here we go. Let's cheddar. Maybe. Well, okay, Alison, that's a good point. I think cheddar is particularly not great with Pinot Noir because it makes it taste metallic. Not as much as a blue cheese, but for a Pinot Noir, it's quite fussy about what cheese you pair it to. Pinot walnut roll would be nice. It's fine. Like it's not a problem. But I think that that might be creating that slight metallic kind of character for you in the wine because of the sharpness of the cheddar. Anyway, have a glass of wine and have a taste again and see what it tastes like without the food as well. It might be just something that you're picking up on. There is certainly a minerality to the wine. And it's got a sort of a slightly rare meat kind of aroma to it, which sometimes is a little similar to a slightly metallic ferrous character, slightly iron filing-y kind of character. But I think that's very, very subtle. It's much more about the black cherry, the violet. There's also, when this wine was younger, it had a real kind of soy sauce kind of savouriness to it, which I think has mellowed out. But there's still a little bit of that star anise spice. There's some really nice spicy characters coming up as the wine airs as well. All right. On the palate, we have this beautiful juxtaposition of, this is what I really love about our Pinots and good Mornington Peninsula. There you go, Hannah. Fantastic. It's amazing what you taste. There is a little hamon kind of fatty, cured, porky kind of character, Anne-Marie. Absolutely. That's part of that savoury thing coming. There's just so many layers of flavour. Hello, Jeff. You made it. Hurrah, hurrah. A little tomato sauce smell, Andrew. I think there is that sort of sweet spice kind of lift to it. Isn't daylight savings fabulous, Paul and Roz? The sun is nowhere near setting yet, and the sky looks beautiful. We've had an incredible day. It was supposed to be raining all day today, but it rained last night instead and early this morning. And then the sun came out. It's been absolutely glorious all day. I was feeling quite annoyed at having to sit at my desk and work on my computer. Yes, Craig, definitely the most forest floor and savoury flavours of the recent Pinot tastings, because this wine has got a bit more depth and concentration. It's younger as well than the others that we've had, if only by a year. But you know, a year can make quite a difference sometimes. Torrential rain there. Oh well, good day for sitting inside and having a glass of Pinot, obviously. Jill's throwing things on the ground. Oh, Scott, that's nice. Peter. Oh, gotcha. Right, Paul and Roz. Sorry, daylight savings here. I had a Zoom meeting this morning with a group committee that I'm on that has members in Europe and America and the UK. And over winter, we've been meeting once a month, and it's been 5 a.m. for me, which has been pretty appalling time to get up in the middle of winter. And then it was 6 o'clock today, which was lovely, but it meant I had to miss my yoga at 6:30, which was not so lovely. Anyway, small, boring stories from Kate. Let's get back to the wine. Scott described the wine, a great blend of a lovely nuanced perfume as well as a sense of adventure and excitement. Yeah, that's nice. Hi, Iggy. How you going? I hope you're letting Dad taste some wine tonight. Oh, no. Yeah, anyway. Oh, Nigel, you've missed everything. Lost power? Oh, no, terrible. No, you haven't missed much. We're just talking about the wine, and people are quite enjoying it, I think. Shell, that's nice. Amazing with the zucchini salad, yuzu furikake, and yuzu oil. Yeah, so a lot of our Pinots, and this wine particularly was young, but I can still see a little bit of it, have a character that is quite citrusy, which is something that surprised me when someone first talked to me about it, and I hadn't noticed it myself until they sort of said, hey, this wine's got some orange notes. And I think that they do, particularly when they're young, they have these kind of lifted orange oil kind of esters that sort of settle down with age. But I think that this wine has got a real affinity with a little bit of citrus. It can work really, really well with things like yuzu, orange, that kind of thing, because it has a little bit of that character in it itself. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool yuzu flavors are awesome, and I have to say now, out myself, I've been trying to get a yuzu tree for a year, and Mum finally found me one on one of her nursery sites, and I have a yuzu tree in the front yard now. I'm so excited. I probably won't get any fruit from it ever. But anyway, Paul and Roz, this wine has beautiful depth to it, and I haven't really talked about the palate yet, so let me get back to the wine. So I was talking about that dark fruit, and it's kind of really, I love the fact that this wine has that core of sweet, dark cherry fruit right in the middle of it, but it's surrounded by all kinds of other characters that take it away from just being a sweet fruited wine and makes it really delicious. An orange pate, Janet. Oh, that sounds interesting. Ducket orange as well can work really well with this wine for the same reason. So those are the sort of flavours that are going to work with this ducket orange, that traditional French dish. can work really, really well here. So you've got that core of sweet cherry fruit, which is kind of getting a little more savoury with age. Yum. And then you've got the spices and you've got the savouriness and you've got this beautiful, there's really nice acid line to the wine still. It's got good acidity and it's got really lovely tannins, quite firm but fine grained tannins, and the tannins are very velvety in their texture. So I think it's really a perfect example of what I expect to see from this part of the Mornington Peninsula, the northern part, which is a little warmer than the southern part. We get those darker fruit characters, we get those spice and slightly herbal notes, but you get that kind of, you know, that lovely complexity and weight without it being too heavy or big. It's still got elegance. It's still got this beautiful intense character, but silky, velvety textures as well, which makes it really lovely to drink. Hello, Ricardo and Uncle Tony. How you going? Nice to meet you. I hope that Jeff is sharing his wine with you, or if not, I hope that you're having a lovely afternoon. Emily, this wine does compare quite nicely to the 2015 Robinson and McIntyres, and I'll answer your question in conjunction with Michael's question / comment. Michael's asked, why do I think our entry wines are so great? Most expect these to be a lap behind the single label wines, and I think in a way these are sort of, so whether it be blind naivety, whether it be, I like to think it's an aspiration to make wine that is as good as it can possibly be, and wine that we're going to be excited about selling, but also drinking. Because in normal times, I spend quite a lot of time in my life going around drinking these wines with people, doing dinners, doing tastings, tasting the wines, sometimes not swallowing them because my liver would die if I drank everything that I put into my mouth. But tasting them a lot. So it would be really depressing if even our estate level wines were not punching above their category. And that's something that I think that we've done for quite a long time. But I think that in the last 10, 15 years, everything's taken a step up. So, Michael, to answer your question and to sort of segue to Emily's question, I think all of our wines, whether they be estate level or whether they be single vineyard wines, age very well. And I actually don't see the single vineyard wines necessarily as being better than the estate wines. They're more expensive for slightly more complicated reasons. They're smaller batch wines. They're wines that we have to sort of work a bit harder to keep them separate and to select them out. And the estate wines are made to be more ready to drink when they're young, which doesn't mean that they're not going to age really, really well as well. And in a way, I think that we take the crafting of our estate wines compared to our single vineyard wines in the same way that the Champenoise take their attitude to blending their non-vintage champagnes and their vintage champagnes. And so we're not talking about vintages here and reserve wines, but we're talking about 3 distinct vineyards that we source Pinot Noir from for this wine: the McIntyre vineyard, the Robinson vineyard, and the Garden vineyard. They all have their characters, and those characters are very well expressed in the single vineyard wines that we make in small quantities and we select out, and we do some, keep a closer eye on to keep them more individual. But the blending across the 3 vineyards is also a really important skill and craft that we've developed over the years, understanding what this much Robinson vineyard and this much McIntyre vineyard and that much Garden vineyard is going to bring to this wine. And in some years, the wine will be more affected by one vineyard than the other. In some years, one vineyard will be more successful than the other, and it's not always the McIntyre vineyard that is the most successful for the estate wine. But what we find is that by doing that blending, you've got a wine that's more complex as a young wine, which is why people drink most of our estate wine early. The single vineyard wines, the Robinson 2015 has got that classic Robinson purity to it and line to it. It's more red fruited. The McIntyre 15 is more structured, more savoury. It's got all that sort of dark structure and dark cherry and herbs and spices going on, but there's sort of more like a single melody, whereas the estate wine is more like a piece of music that's written for a number of different instruments, and they're all playing a slightly different line of the piece, and that's bringing more complexity and more depth and more harmony into the wine that we have to wait to develop with age for the single vineyard wines often. So I hope that so you can see every year, I think you see a vintage character that comes out in the estate wine and then the single vineyard wines, and then you see the character of the single vineyard wines coming through all the single vineyard wines up and down for different vintages. So I hope that makes sense. I think that the 2015 Robinson and McIntyre Pinot Noir are also delicious. If you've got them in your cellar, then fantastic. And they're going to last for a lot longer. If you've got some of this in your cellar as well, fantastic. And this is part of the sort of, I want to call it, I think it's a bit of a realization that messaging has been maybe not quite what it could have been in the past. And by doing these tastings with you guys and spending 45 minutes drinking a glass of wine with you and talking about it and enjoying it, we get to understand the wines much better. And I think that we've kind of shortchanged the estate wines by saying, buy them, drink them now, and keep the single vineyard wines as sort of serious cellaring wines. These are also serious cellaring wines and great value for money, I think, as far as the way they age well. Now I'm missing all of the questions. So, Jeremy, that orange peel, orange rind citrus thing does come from this northern part of the peninsula through Chirong and down through Merricks. And some of Merricks has some of the volcanic soil and some of it has the sandy soil. So it could be dirt, could be weather patterns, could be lots of things. But we think it's quite an attractive character that we see in the wine, and it is unique for this part of the Mornington, this sort of sweep of the Mornington Peninsula. Hello, Linda. Welcome. Glad you made it. The wine's looking delicious. The garden vineyard characters, Matt. Well, so the garden vineyard as a single vineyard wine is slightly different from the other two single vineyard wines because it's Dad's whole bunch project, as you probably remember. So the single vineyard wine is already kept separate from the rest of the garden vineyard fruit that goes into this wine. I feel in the estate wine, the garden vineyard brings a plushness and that juicy mid-palate richness to this wine, which I think is really beautiful. It has less of the purity and red fruit line that the Robinson has. It has less of the herbal notes and spicy notes that the McIntyre has, but it gives that lovely plushness and gives us some more of those velvety tannins in the Robinson wine. Rob and Deb, we do strive for a balance of the three vineyards, and it's really about tasting through the wines every year, and sometimes we get better yields from one vineyard than the other. So nature sort of plays a trick on us. Often we have to make decisions about how much of the different vineyard wines needs to go to the estate wine before we choose the fruit, the barrels that go to the single vineyard wine. Sometimes we could potentially make a lot more single vineyard wine than we do, but we want to make sure that this wine is as good as it can be. We don't want to take away from the estate wine just to make more single vineyard wine. So it's really important to get that balance of the 3 vineyards, and I think that we find that quite often in that complexity of that wine. Thank you, Michael. You can be first fiddle in our orchestra always. That would be wonderful. Thank you, Kenneth. It's lovely to see you as well. John asks how many different clones would be involved in this sort of blend, and Jeremy's answer, this has got 6 or 7 clones. MV6 would be quite a large component, but there's also 777, 667. There's some Pommard. There's a bit of Abel in here. Can't think of anything else, but yes, 777. I think I said that, but anyway, 114, 115. So they're all the clones that we kind of play with, and they'll probably all be in here to a greater or lesser extent. Anne-Marie, yes, it did have bright, crunchy black and red cherries when it was young. And yeah, back in 2017 when we were selling it, it was delicious. And I think it's even more delicious today, which is what I'm sort of saying, that I haven't really, apart from people like you, Anne-Marie, who have been selling, you guys have been cellaring these wines for a while, so you're kind of having that little experiment at home. I do think that we need to talk more about, and it's a bit of a controversial subject, because restaurants are not going to sell a wine. They need to buy it and sell it and turn it around and then buy some more. And a lot of people don't have good places to sell their wine anymore. So, if you do have a good cellar and you do love this kind of wine, and you're particularly sort of having a bit of a joy moment on these tastings because the wine's got a bit more age, then just think about buying a little bit more than you want to drink in the short term, so that you can cellar 2 bottles, 3 bottles, 6 bottles, a dozen, whatever fits, whatever works in your system. Because some people like to cellar more wine than others. And some people find it sort of very daunting having a lot of wine put away that you're not allowed to drink, but it is quite rewarding. It's like that marshmallow experiment they did with children, that you can have one marshmallow. If you eat it now, you can just have the one, but if you leave it and wait for another 5 minutes, then they'll give you a second marshmallow, and then you've got 2. I think that cellaring good wine like this is like that. It's really nice to drink when it's young, but if you can hold off, often it will reward your patience by doubling in complexity and interest and excitement. Sam, I will be very interested to hear how your duck à l'orange works with this, picking up that little orange peel thing. Keely, yes, there is that orange peel coming up more and more in the wine as it airs. Michael, everything has, so screw cap is something that we have kind of banged on a bit in the past, and I'm happy to praise the screw cap every time I possibly can. I think that the screw cap has been a revelation for us. Natural corks are beautiful things when they work well, but you can't guarantee that they're going to work, and these do work a lot more often than a cork does. They're not perfect. They can be damaged, but they're much harder to hurt the wine than a cork. Much less likely to have wine in bad condition under a screw cap than under a cork, and they age really, really well. So, Michael, I think your point about wines less than 20 years old is really interesting, because we're finding that the screw cap is slowing the aging process down a little bit, but the wine's still aging very, very well under screw cap. So I think that in the future you'll have more and more good wine under screw cap that's got significant age on it if you decide to cellar it. You also don't need to lay it down. You can leave it standing up. Hello, Yusuf. Having corks tested prior to putting them in the bottle. Yeah, that we could do that, and we could add an extra $50 a bottle to the wine to cover the cost of it. It's a very expensive process. I know there's a few people who do it, but their wines are a lot more expensive than ours as a result. And why buy corks and then have to test each one before you put them in the bottle? Doesn't always work anyway. But we really love our screw caps. So I think we're pretty much stuck on those for now on. What else are people saying? I know Peter, Karen, and Craig. COVID was very bad for lots of people cellaring wines. I went the other way and I bought lots of wine at the beginning of last year, thinking, good to support some friends who are making wine, and those were wines that I bought to drink rather than wines to cellar. So things are hiding in the cellar still that I didn't remember were there, and some that I do know were there. So he's stealing my chips.
Yeah, have to keep the dogs happy.
He's giving all the chips to the dogs, my expensive flavoured chips. Yeah, well, that's true. Now, what has everybody else got to say? John, 5 minutes for the next bottle, but not 5 years. Well, that's right. Your delayed gratification. Thank you, Rob and Deb, for reminding me of what it's actually called. It's sometimes hard. Oh, Janet, the Grange thing. So Grange now, I think a bottle of Grange will cost, you won't get much change, if any, from $1,000 for a bottle of Grange these days. It's not always been that expensive. I think it's about $860 a bottle for Grange on release right now. And they run recorking clinics, and you can take your Grange along to the corking clinic and they'll have a look at what's inside the bottle, and then they'll top it up with something else. So, yeah, that's a good look. We could potentially do, but, as I say, we've put our trust in screw caps. So, Craig opened a 22-year-old wine on the weekend with a cork, needed to strain the deteriorating cork. Yes, so, yeah, corks do crumble. And they don't really do. Oh, good, Kay. I think probably also the wine is getting better as it breathes as well. So that's okay. Sid, you're right. 15 is so different to 14. And that's another reason that I wanted to show these two wines. And I'm so glad that you're sort of able to sort of think back to 2 weeks ago, because it's been a bit of a challenge that I've set you sort of doing Chardonnay then Pinot, then Chardonnay then Pinot. So just using that taste memory muscle is a really good thing to do, and I think 15 and 14 very different vintages. 15, you'll be unsurprised to hear, was a little easier to sell than 14, but I think they're both really lovely wines. Hazel, the majority of wine producers in Mornington will use some, if not all, of the same clones. I don't think that there's many clones that are grown down here on the peninsula these days that we don't use. There were some, Jeremy, if you're still on, you might want to tell me otherwise. I know that in the early days of growing Pinot, a lot of people okay, Samantha, it could just be a little too much orange sauce, orange rind, and the wine. Maybe if the wine was a little bit younger, but that's okay. It's always good to do the experiment. So, yes, in the early days when we were first planting Pinot down here on the Mornington Peninsula, most of the clones were clones that came from UC Davis from America, and they turned out for most people not to be the clones that we wanted to keep using. MV6, on the other hand, is the clone that came from the original James Busby vines that he brought and planted up in New South Wales near Sydney, and that moved up to the Hunter for about 100 years. And were grown for sparkling wine and grown for just blending into sort of generic red wines, because they weren't really regarded as being fantastic in any great way. But when people started being interested in growing Pinot Noir in the cooler climates of Victoria, in Mornington Peninsula and Yarra Valley, and also in Tasmania, then we saw that this MV6 clone that had come originally from Burgundy but had been living in Australia for about nearly 150 years, it had acclimatised a little bit to the Australian climate, and MV6 has turned out to be a really important part of the blending for Australia. So yeah, it's pretty exciting. Okay. Not sure what it tastes like now. Corking clean. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, Janet. It's good to get it checked if you can. That decision about whether you're ever going to drink it or whether it's being collected to resell or just it's too valuable to drink. I think that's the problem with wines like Grange that are so expensive that you kind of go, oh, when should I drink them? Black Books, Nina. I've missed the Black Books reference. Someone might have to explain. So Jeremy has said that we don't see much G5 V15 at Moorooduc, but everything else is common to us. Michael, I think that's interesting. Mornington Peninsula is still a small region, and I think a lot of Australians still don't drink Pinot Noir here because Pinot Noir is sort of expensive, and a lot of people find it disappointing because it's not big and heavy and richly flavoured like a lot of other Australian wines, particularly from warmer climates. But we're making inroads. There's also the Pinot celebration on the Mornington Peninsula, of course, but that's very much marketed to people who already love Pinot Noir. So that's good. I think being on the front page of Decanter is a good thing, Michael. But I think that it's I think we could do better at promoting Pinot through Australia. Oh, the dusty bottles. Thank you, Janet. Thank you, Nina. I got it. Yes, absolutely. Craig, the Burgundians don't talk about clones in the same way that we talk about clones because they say it's all sort of self-selected in the vineyard, and their vines are of an age that clones are unimportant. So I think being obsessed about clones is a very I get it, Nina. Thank you. Totally get it. Creating a Frankenstein wine. It's actually my favourite episode in Black Books, so I'm sorry I didn't get it straight away. Yes, we get very obsessed with clones in Australia and in America, but not so much in Burgundy. They do have clones in Burgundy, but they're their own. They call it what do they call the selection? Not clonal. Richard, help me. In Burgundy, one of the Cuyong wines is called it. Marsal, Selection Marsal, which just means that they're kind of growing vines from the same vines that have been in the vineyard for hundreds of years, and they just take a cutting and then grow a new vine. And so, okay, so the clones do have very interesting histories, Rob and Deb, and we will talk about those maybe another day. Yes. Shell, happy birthday for tomorrow. I'm not sure if I'll be able to fulfill your birthday wish, but I think that we might have some duck Pinot Noir from 15. I'm not sure. So happy birthday, Shell, for tomorrow. And I've got to say happy birthday to Jeff for Tuesday. It was Jeff's birthday on Tuesday. So happy birthday, Jeff. And who else is having a birthday? My beautiful niece, Jasmine, who will not be watching this session tonight, but her parents might watch it some other time and her other grandparents might be watching. So happy birthday to Jasmine, 12 years old, getting her ears pierced now that she's 12. Very excited. And also getting her COVID shot. So she's a good girl. So lots of good birthdays in October. Yeah, I reckon that what else? Everyone's now disintegrating to birthdays. I think I've answered everyone's questions. Rob and Deb, you have to remind me to talk about clones and clonal histories a little bit more at a later date. But in the meantime, I think I'm going to say happy birthday to all you birthday people this week. Peter, get better soon. I will see Who's being a pincushion for whose birthday? What? I've missed something. Oh yes, Jazzy. No, she's not having it. She's not having it. She's not having it today. She's having it next week. Her mum thought it might be a bit mean for her to have a vaccination on her birthday. But the ear piercing comes first, then the vaccination. Getting things in the right order, obviously. So happy birthday to everyone. Get better soon, Pete. Cheers to all of you. I think Dad's fed all my chips to the dogs now, so I'll have to go back to the shops and buy some more. Next week, before you go, I'll send you an email, don't worry, but next week it's cocktail week. It's our week between boxes. So next week we're going to do, I've decided, because I've been making them, I made them last year. Oh, Andrew, happy birthday. I've been making them, I made them last year and I've just remembered them again this year. So I made one last week, Hemingway Daiquiris. So you need to get your rum, you need to get your limes, you need to get your, if you want to be really hardcore, maraschino liqueur for a Hemingway daiquiri, and also a grapefruit, because the Hemingway daiquiri has maraschino liqueur and grapefruit juice in it, as well as lime juice and rum. So I'll send you instructions on Monday. I've lost track of what you're all saying, but Jack, I'm sure that wasn't you. Good on you, Zach. Thanks, everyone. White or dark rum, whichever you prefer. I like to make it with a slightly dark rum, but it's whatever you prefer, Alison. If you like a lighter style, use a white rum. Dark rum will be awesome. I will see you guys all really soon, and have a lovely week. Cheers. Good wine to finish off with. See you later, everyone. Happy birthday!